Good afternoon, my name is Delilah if you are new here, and welcome to my kitchen. Today we are going to be getting started on a pantry restock. There's some things that we're low on that I would like to restock, but then there's also some things that I would just like to have in the fridge, the pantry, the freezer, things I like to have on hand to make life easier throughout the week. This isn't something I do all the time, but there are certain staples that I do like to have on hand. We do make a lot of our stuff from scratch, things like brown sugar and breadcrumbs and even a lot of snacks. The easiest way for me to do that is to meal prep it ahead of time. That is what this video is. So we have some snacks we want to experiment with this week. I would love to fill my freezer with some breads and buns. So we've got some bread baking today. We've been eating this like crazy. My boy's been loving jam toast. Two things that we need to make this week is bread and jam. But today I really want to focus on making like breakfast sausage patties. This is something I've never done before, but I find breakfast to be one of those challenging times of the day. And I find myself just sticking to the same thing over and over again. So to have something ready to go on hand would be really nice for busy mornings, especially something that is high in protein. Now, sausage I find is something that's first of all really expensive in store, and I find it really hard to find like a breakfast sausage with clean ingredients. And so I'm gonna make my own. Found some lean ground pork on sale yesterday, so we got a couple packs. I'm gonna make 2 big batches of this. I'm gonna try doing like a maple breakfast sausage and then like a blueberry breakfast sausage. We'll see. Again, I've never done this before, so this is all experimental for me. I mean, really, it's no different than making burgers. You're just using slightly different ingredients. I don't have a lot of time today, so I'm just gonna stick with these 2 things, but later throughout the week, I'm going to tackle some other stuff. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, I'm not using a recipe today, so I'm kind of just experimenting here with different flavors, but I can't imagine this is going to be too difficult. We really like the combination of sweet and salty when it comes to a breakfast sausage, so I'm just adding some simple seasonings. I think we're going to do some salt and pepper, obviously, and then for our herbs, we'll do parsley and sage, and then some garlic as well, just to give it that savory flavor. And then this might sound a little odd, but I have some leftover Saskatoon berry compote that I made for a cake this weekend. This is essentially jam, which would be the perfect sweet component, I feel, to our sausage patties. I think I might try just breaking it down a little bit, maybe chopping up the berries a little bit finer so that we're not getting like big chunks of berries in our patties. This is about 4 pounds of ground pork. I'm gonna try and get about 24 to 30 patties out of this. So keep that in mind. If you're wanting to make like a smaller batch, obviously you would add less. I'm just eyeballing this here. I don't have any measurements, but this is about 4 pounds of ground pork for reference. I'm going to use a scoop to divide up this meat. I'm using a large scoop. This is the scoop that I would use to fill like a muffin tin or for pancakes. So I think this will be a really nice portion size, and it might fit really well on like a breakfast sandwich too. The first batch of sausage patties have been formed and are cooking. I've already got 16 here. We've got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's another 19 on the way. We're getting like 35 patties here, which is really good. We only paid like $14 for the ground pork. So to get 35 sausages out of that is really good. But now I'm really curious. I want to know what it tastes like, especially this one, because this is the one that I put the berries in. Not bad. I would definitely add a little bit more salt and a lot more berries. I was a little bit nervous to put the berries in because I didn't want it to be too sweet, but it could use more. So I'm gonna make a second batch now, but instead of adding berries, I'm gonna do maple syrup. So it's gonna be like a maple breakfast sausage. I'm gonna be a little bit more generous with the maple this time though. It is a couple of days later and we are picking this back up again. We've already enjoyed our breakfast sausages a few times now. This morning I made a double batch of English muffins and we had English muffin breakfast sandwiches with those patties and it was really delicious. So I'm really glad to have that in the freezer. It's been wonderful. And because I made English muffins this morning, like I said, I went ahead and made a double batch so that I can throw these in the freezer. These are sourdough English muffins. I've made them before on my channel. You've seen me make them. I'll leave the recipe link down below. But today the focus is mostly breads and baking and snacks and then a couple odds and ends. The kids are having a play date at Gammy's house today. I'm hoping I can just really smash this out and do it as quickly as possible and get it all done before they come home today. You saw me make bread the other day. Well, I'm already making another batch of that because we've already eaten through it. This is not a sourdough recipe this time because we've been eating through it so fast and we've been in and out of the house. I haven't been able to take the time to make a sourdough batch. So it's just been a regular batch of bread. Again, that's something I make a lot, so I'll leave that recipe down below. And then I'm also making a double batch of buns. This is kind of a cross between sourdough and yeast. It has sourdough discard and yeast in it, so we get some of the benefits of the sourdough fermentation, but the quick turnaround time of the yeast. Both of these things you've seen me make numerous times on my channel, so I'm not going to go into detail about those. What I'm going to get started on now is breadcrumbs. A couple weeks ago I made a batch of bread and it didn't turn out. Whenever that happens, I never throw it away. I cube it up, I get it on a pan, and I let it just sit for a few weeks to dry out. Some of those cubed pieces I set aside in the freezer right away. I use those to make croutons, but the rest of them I've dried out. So some of these I'm gonna put in a bag right now. These I'm going to use in the future to make stuffing. I don't make stuffing very often, but when I do, it's a lot easier when I have these in the freezer ready to go because then I can skip the step of drying the bread. I'm gonna label this right away because I will forget which bread cubes are dried and which are not. Dried bread cubes. Now the rest of this I am going to blitz in my blender and turn into breadcrumbs. And I use breadcrumbs very often when I'm cooking, when I'm making burgers or meatballs or meatloaf. Even when I'm making like breaded chicken or chicken fingers or something like that. I reach for it quite often. So I like to have some in the freezer at all times. Since I have my blender out, I want to try my hand at making chicken bouillon. All the recipes call for nutritional yeast, salt, and a variety of spices. I've never made this before. I don't know what it's going to be like or taste like. So I'm just gonna make half recipe because I haven't tried it before. But I'm thinking this would be really nice if I'm ever just like out of chicken broth and I need chicken broth for something, or just to add extra flavor to anything that I'm making. Because I don't have all the spices that the recipe is calling for, I'm using some Italian seasoning, which is essentially the same thing. Smells really good. This does smell incredible. I've seen some people add turmeric to make it just a little bit more yellow. I wish you could smell this. It smells really good. We are switching over to a food processor for the next couple of recipes. Things are getting a little bit more serious. So my hair is now up in a clip and my bread dough is just about ready to work with here. We're gonna have to pause in a minute, but first I want to try making this bounty bark or bounty bars. I saw someone do something similar to this before and it looked really good, like a really yummy snack slash sweet treat. So I found a recipe, and doing it in the form of a bark will make it a lot easier and faster to make instead of rolling everything out into balls and then dipping it in chocolate. So we've got coconut oil. I'm gonna need like some vanilla, basically making like the coconut filling on the bottom layer and then a chocolate layer on top. And because this looks like a really small recipe, I'm gonna double it. I went a little bit heavy on the chocolate, but I'm not mad about that. I'm gonna put this in the fridge so it can harden. And then I gotta turn my attention to my bread because it is starting to explode. I have my bread loaves shaped and ready. I'm just gonna let those rise for a little while. And now my bun dough is starting to explode. So I've gotta start doing this. This is a double recipe, so I'm going to do half like a sub bun for sandwiches, and then half more like a burger bun for burgers or even other sandwiches. The only difference is in the way that I shape them and whether or not I add an egg wash before I put it into the oven. I use the same recipe to do hot dog buns, regular buns, sub buns. I'm not using any flour for this. It is just a little bit sticky, but as I work with it and shape it, it creates tension and becomes a lot less sticky. And I find if I put flour on my work surface, it actually gets a little bit too dry. Each batch makes about 8 buns, so I'm dividing this up into 16 equal pieces. For my buns, I just shape them like so. I gather all the edges into the bottom, pinch it closed, and then just use my hand to drag it across the countertop and create that tension and a nice round ball. For sub buns, I basically shape them the same way that I would shape a loaf of bread. So I'll flatten it out into a rectangle, I'll roll it up, pinch it together, and then I'll do the same tension technique by dragging it along the countertop. And that's a sub bun. While my bread is baking, I'm going to get started on some raspberry jam. This is the easiest recipe ever. It's 2 ingredients, raspberries and sugar. I pick up the frozen organic raspberries from Costco. This is about 9 cups. And then I add 6 cups of sugar. This is the organic cane sugar, also from Costco. I'm just gonna get this into the pot and let it start cooking. I want it to come to a boil, and I want it to boil for a while so that it can thicken and get to the gelling stage. The cool thing about this jam is that there's no need for pectin or anything like that, no thickeners, because it will naturally gel on its own if it just gets the chance to boil for a while. I'm just gonna turn the oven on and I'm gonna let this cook while I do some other stuff. It's starting to smell really good in here with the bread and the jam. Now I'm going to switch gears and I'm gonna try something new. I haven't made these before, but I've made similar things. We're making some cookie dough protein balls. So I've got my ingredients here. I have my dates soaking in some hot water. I'm gonna drain this in a second and then start throwing all my ingredients into the food processor. It's really just a matter of getting the ingredients in, blending them up, and then rolling out the balls and chilling them. So this will be a really nice snack. I've been trying to do more high protein snacks and trying to switch it up a little bit because I tend to just stick with the things that I know, and then it can get a little bit boring after a while. So we're experimenting a little bit today. I made a rookie mistake. I soaked the dates in hot water so that it would speed up the process, and then I added chocolate chips into the warm dough, which then melted the chocolate chips. So this is more like a chocolate cookie protein ball instead of a chocolate chip cookie protein ball, but they are delicious. It's gonna be a little bit messy to roll out, but that's okay. I am just going to scoop these out and roll them, and then these will be good to go. I think these are going to be a really good to-go snack, like something that's just quick. I can throw in the diaper bag, and it shouldn't be too messy. You know the jam is done when it's starting to get really messy. The very last thing that I want to make today, let's just pause this for a minute. Our dishwasher is older than I am and it works great, but it is so loud. The last thing that I want to make today is crackers. I've had this recipe in the back of my mind for a long time. I've been wanting to try it. It's cheddar ranch snack crackers from my Half-Baked Harvest cookbook. They look really good. Now the base of the cracker I'm actually using a different recipe for, but the ranch seasoning is what I'm getting from this cookbook. Crackers is one of those things that I would love to make on a regular basis, but I just haven't quite gained the confidence yet. So we're gonna try this today. It's basically just like butter, cheese, flour, some salt. I'm gonna blitz it up in my food processor until it forms a dough, and then I'm gonna roll it, season it, cut it, bake it. I'm really hoping that these ones turn out. I wasn't feeling very confident with my crackers, but they're in the oven right now and they're looking good, so I'm hopeful. My canner is ready now, my jars are ready, so I'm going to can up this raspberry jam. You can already see how much more thick it is now that it's been cooling a little bit. After this is done, I am going to take a few minutes to tidy up my kitchen, and then we can start assessing everything that we've made today. Jam is done. My last batch of crackers is in the oven right now. I've got supper cooking already, but I think once that is done, we are officially done for today. Ooh, that one's sealed already. This is everything that I've managed to prep this week, aside from other things that I didn't film. I've also made muffins and other stuff. This is a really good stock for my pantry and for my freezer, for my fridge. Oh, one more thing. I'm so curious how these turned out. Show you. Ooh. Wow, that is really, really good. The kids are gonna love that. Ooh. I'm hearing some sealing happening here. That's a good sign. Ooh, there's another one. Thank you all for joining me in my kitchen today. I hope you enjoyed and found some inspiration. Let me know what is something that you really like to stock up for your pantry, for your fridge or your freezer. Let me know some good snack recipes and some good pantry basics. I always love trying out new recipes, and I love filling my fridge and my pantry and my freezer with scratch-made foods that are whole and delicious. It's so satisfying being able to do this for my family. I really enjoyed hanging out with you today. Really enjoyed just spending the day in the kitchen. It was a lot of fun. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. There's my crackers.